I wanted to clear up the topic of personality masking versus social masking versus autistic masking versus common masking, because it seems there's a lot of confusion out there about this. The main takeaway from this episode is that we all mask. We mask both in a relatively innocent social way, I call this social masking, and in a more permanent way, which I call personality masking. It doesn't matter if you're autistic or not, though autistic masking is its own special category, and we'll talk about that. So let's get into this and bring some clarity to this topic. This is a Deep Psychology podcast. I'm Ross. We blend spirituality, psychology, and self help to help you shine a light on your inner workings. The insights I share have helped me deeply understand myself and transform my life. Listen to this podcast if you want to get real, powerful insights and avoid all the fluffy nonsense that abounds in self help circles. You'll know more about your psychology than 99% of people out there. You can find me on all the major podcasting platforms or head to deep-psychology.com, visited by thousands every month for tons of free resources. Alright, so last month I made a video talking about personality masks and how we wear them to create a certain effect on other people, to hide our weaknesses, to function socially. And in that video I spoke about personality masks as being relatively stable aspects of our character that seem like genuine, authentic traits, but they're actually a mask for the exact opposite. Now, this differs in my mind from a social mask, in that a social mask is like a temporary hat that we take on and we put off for normal social functioning, not really to do with ourselves, more just to function in the social world, like smiling at the right time, warmly greeting people, asking people how they are, even though we might not care or we don't want to speak to them, or whatever. These are social masks, aren't so strong and persistent and important as personality masks. Now, it seems like there was a bit of confusion here. It seems that a few autistics that watched my video were quite upset by what I was saying, and they complained that they didn't wear their masks to be a certain person or to create a certain effect, but actually to function in a neurotypical society that doesn't accommodate autistic people very well. So I just want to address that. The confusion is that in the autistic community, the topic of masking is discussed a lot and for good reason. And the thing is, my video wasn't about autistic masking, it was just about masking full stop. And I just wanted to clear this up because I think we can all take something from this, whether we're autistic or not. Now, what is autistic masking? And this is from my understanding from my own research. I'm pretty sure I don't have autism, but from my point of view, autistic masking in its purest form, or the type of masking that autistic people use, is purely about social survival. It's not about creating an image or about masking their insecurities. It's about covering up certain authentic traits of theirs that aren't accepted in society. And neurotypical people do this too, and we're going to talk about that. But in autistics, it takes on another level because I think the level of masking is very strong, and often they're very aware that they're masking, from my experience, from my research. And I know that this causes a lot of pain and exhaustion for autistics. They wear these very elaborate masks all day long and have to cover up their authenticity all the time, and it must be exhausting. So everyone masks, and I'd say that some people do mask to the same extent that autistics do, but they do it for different reasons. I do think that the autistic community is quite mistaken if they think that they're the only people in the world who have personality masks. Sure, the personality mask might be different, but we all, every single one of us, has personality masks. And this is what I want to talk about next. Neurotypical's mask, and if you're wondering what a neurotypical is and you don't know, it just means people without autism, basically. Everyone masks a lot every single day, whether they're autistic or not. I can guarantee it. No one is 100% authentic. I'm not just talking about social masks, I'm talking about these more persistent personality masks. We're constantly acting, we're hiding, we're constructing, we're distorting. We're like social magicians. We're so good at it, we don't really realize that that's what we're doing. We just forget, we take it for granted. If you don't believe me here, if you think this is a bit left field, then observe people that you know well and look at how they change depending on who they're with. Look for behaviors or traits that seem forced and fake and that contradict who you know them to be. Look at how they cover up their insecurities in the social realm. Um, Even lying, for example, they might be lying about their life to cover up things. This is masking, especially if it's persistent and these mm, these adopted behaviors or traits could be mistaken for an actual personality of theirs. That is a personality mask. I'd also say look at yourself, including if you're autistic. Um, I reckon that autistics still mask in the usual way. It's just that their autistic masking is so strong that it covers over this more general, not so um, not so inauthentic, not so harm producing. And notice that you're still trying to create an impression on people. You're still trying to hide your usual weaknesses and insecurities that don't have to do with autism. We're all human, we all do it. Observe people and observe yourself, whether you're considering yourself an autistic or not. And I think this recognition is good for both the autistic community and for non-autistics. Um, People without autism can realize that we're upholding all these masks, which are still exhausting and energy sapping, perhaps not as much as the autistic case, but autistics too can realize that they're not alone in their masking, that masking is this universal human reality. So it's not like the neurodivergents are being authentic all the time. That's very misguided. So I think there's both of all of us can learn something very important here about human beings. And I just want to make clear common masking as opposed to autistic masking. So common masking is the type that ordinary non-autistic people take part in. Common masking is quite different. So we still mask for survival if you look at it in a certain way, just like autistics do. But we're not masking typical autistic traits that are undesirable. Instead, we're masking just general undesirable traits and we exaggerate our desirable traits. So let me give you an example of this, an example of common masking that you've probably seen many times. One is self-confidence. So, for example, if we have poor self confidence, say when we're in our house on our own or we're on our own, with our naked self, our naked identity, not pretending, and we have poor self confidence, what happens when we're socializing is we'll create this mask that we put on repetitively, and it's like this personality that is confident and assured and successful. So we'll speak with authority, we'll stand taller, we'll project our voice. But if you observe this person from the outside or you observe it from within, you doing it yourself, you can sense if there's a falsity there. That the person doesn't really have self-esteem. Otherwise it wouldn't seem so forced and overbearing, this self-confidence. Um, Self-confidence usually doesn't advertise itself too much because it doesn't need to. It's people with lack of self-esteem that need to advertise themselves so much because they lack that self-esteem and they need sort of the validation of others, so they go seeking it. Now, if we repeatedly put on this mask of self-confidence, this is a personality mask because it's going to seem to people like it's a stable aspect of your character. It's actually not, because it's not authentic self-confidence, it's forced. It's like you're literally playing a role, like an actor. That's what you're doing. Now, that's just one example. Self-confidence is just one example. It's probably quite a common example. Look out for it. But we mask for all kinds of reasons, and there are far too many to go into here. You might like to check out my video on personality masks, because I gave a few more examples there. But I just wanted to clear up a few things in terms of autistics and neurotypicals. Who masks, who doesn't? The answer is we both. We just mask in different ways. What does autistic masking look like? What does common masking look like? And I hope that this helps everyone understand that we are human and we all mask, and we do it to survive to different levels, but we all do it to maintain our image, to cover up our insecurities, to cover up our weaknesses, to have people think of us in a certain way, for example. Thanks a lot for listening. I've got 2 weekly episodes coming for the rest of 2024, so do subscribe to make sure you're up to date with them. Take care, and I'll see you soon.